Okay, so moving on to rate of change. The word rate of change means the slope. Okay, so whenever you're looking at a graph, we're looking at 2 points, we're finding the slope between these 2 points. Okay, so the rate of change is the rate of how quickly, basically, so how quickly at which something is changed. And as I said, that the rate of change is indicated by the slope of the graph. How many of you remember the word slope?
Slope is the rise over run.
It's the rise over run, right? Which is the steepness of your line. Okay? So it's the same thing. That's what we're doing here. So that should be an easy thing for you. Okay? So when you have graph, right? You take 2 points on the line, right? And then you see how much did your point, how much did it rise, how much did it run, and then the slope is rise over run. Okay? Which is easy using a graph. Now, if I don't have a graph, if I have 2 points, I label the points as x1, y1, and x2, y2, and I use the formula of the slope, which is
X1,
Y
M.
no. So it's y2
Y2
minus y1
over
over
X2 minus
x1. So that's the average rate of change, which is in the same time it is the slope of the line. So when the question is asking you find the average rate of change, you're finding the slope of that line. Which is the same thing as saying rise over run. Okay? So that formula you should know, you should be familiar with. So if you want to calculate and interpret the rate of change, so calculate the average rate of change between each pair of points, explain what the rate of change means. Remember the word rate of change, or ROC, right? It's the same thing as saying the slope. Okay? So when you read that word, you're gonna think about slope. Okay? The difference is that rate of change have a unit. So it has a, like, you know how we have like distances in kilometer or weight is in pounds or whatever, right? So the difference is that the rate of change have a unit. Okay? So what would be the average rate of change of the airplane?
So in 0 kilometer, sorry,
So
on
for
0 minute,
Yeah.
it will be 1,000 meter.
So it'll be 2,000.
2,000 meter.
Yeah. 4 minutes, it's 1,400.
Yeah.
Okay. How would I find the average rate of change?
0 minus, oh, sorry, 2,000 minus 0.
So x1,
X2,
Y1, X2,
Y2.
Y2.
label your points. Now use the formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and plug the values in.
100 minus 2,000 over 0. 4 over minus.
Which is negative 150. Now since it's y2 over x, y over x, rise over run, so it's going to be meters per minute. you see how I have to include the unit for that. So what does it mean? So what does it mean it's negative 150 meter per minute?
Means in a minute, it's going down,
Mm-hmm.
It's decreasing.
decreasing minus 150 per meter.
That's right, 150 meter per minute,
Yeah.
right? So that means that the airplane height is decreasing 150 meter per minute. Now, if we're looking at B, so the vehicle rental cost, right? I can do the same thing, so I have 2 points on the graph, right? I can label them as x1, y1, and x2, y2, right? And then plug them in. Right? It's easier than doing rise over run because I don't know by how much. It's going up by 100, right? It's not going up by 1, so sometimes it's hard. It's always easier to use the formula, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and plug in the values for the corresponding letter. So y2 is 700 minus 400 over 400 minus 200, right? So this is first, and then the x value is second. So that's 300 over 200, which is 3 over 2. And the unit for that is dollars per kilometer. Okay, which means the cost is increasing by $1.50 for every kilometer you drive.
There's no any unit for currency, but
Sorry?
we have to use a dollar sign.
Yeah, it's $1. Are you guys okay with this? All right. So for the next part, we're going to be comparing rate of change. So what you're going to see, you're going to see 2 table of values or 2 graphs, and then you're going to compare how the rate of change is different in each table. Okay? So let's look at the scenario here. So the distance required to the car depends on the speed at which the car is traveling. Use the tables below showing the reaction distance and braking distance needed to stop a car on dry pavement for given speed to answer the following. The question is asking you calculate the average rate of change between consecutive points in each table. Describe the rate of change revealed in each table. So, if I want to find the rate of change, what do I have to do? have to take the 2 points,
Yeah,
and I have to do y2 minus y1, right? This minus this, divided by this minus this,
yeah.
right? So in this case, the first rate of change is 2 minus 0 over
Over 10 minus 0.
10 minus 0, which is 2 over 10, which is point, it should be 0.2. Yeah. Okay? You're gonna have to do that for all the other points. So you're gonna take the same thing. You're gonna do 4 minus 2 over 20 minus 10. So which is 2 over 10, which is 0.2. Okay? I want you to do the rest of